What is up, YouTube? My name is JTR, and welcome to a new segment on our channel, Set Analysis. The purpose of this video is to give you all an in-depth guide on some of the most notable cards coming in the new TCG set, Chaos Rising, which is releasing officially on May 22nd. Now, most notably, the reason why this date is so important is because on June 12th to the 14th, the 2026 Pokemon North America International Championships, or NAIC, is taking place, and Chaos Rising will be tournament legal for this huge championship competition. Now, we will be showcasing in the video some of the most notable cards that you should see a huge impact on the decks that will be played at NAIC, and we will also be giving an in-depth analysis on some of the deck lists you may see at the tournament as well. With only 2 weeks for players to gather their cards from Chaos Rising for NAIC, players will now have to keep in mind a fresh 3-week-old meta as they compete for a spot at the Pokemon World Championship for 2026. Here's my take on what will be notable, and let's get into the first set of cards and deck lists. So the first card from Chaos Rising that we are going to review is Beedrill EX. It is a Stage 2 Grass type Pokemon with 310 HP, only for a single energy, has B-Rumble. It does 110x. This attack does 110 damage for each Beedrill you have in play, including Beedrill EX. Now, with 3 Beedrill EX on your bench, for a single energy, it's hitting for 440 damage. Now, even with just 2 Beedrill EX, at 330 damage, it hits most of the meta with very, very good numbers. Currently it is 10 damage over our normal benchmark of 320 for Dragapult and some other mons. But we're talking 320 benchmark at 330 without any buffs or damage from supporters, abilities, or items. Now, this card is very, very good, and it's also very, very consistent with its partner that we're going to showcase in the deck list that we're going to pull up in just a second. So here's the deck that you will typically see with Beedrill EX. It doesn't really stray away from this list too much, aside from the fact that there's one list that runs Secret Box, and the other one, which is the one that we're showing right now, runs Unfair Stamp. Other than the A-Spec, it doesn't really shift the numbers too much. Like some drop Lana's Aid for like maybe another Night Stretcher, and swap out the Unfair Stamp for a Secret Box. But other than that, you have a 4-4-4 line of Beedrill. And then you have a 3-2 line for the Dunsparce and Dunsparce to just get your recurring card draw, just to draw into all of your options, especially Dawn, which is really huge in this deck. But the partner that runs with Beedrill is going to be Arboliva EX. Now, the reason why Arboliva is probably the most common partner you will see with Beedrill is just because Arboliva is easy to use with a single energy, just like Beedrill, and it's probably taking out those lower HP targets with Oil Salvo, or it's either softening up some of the higher HP targets just for a single energy. And also, both Pokemon boast a very high HP stat of 310, just 10 underneath Dragapult. And then since both Pokemon are grass type as well, they can also take advantage of Force to Vitality, along with, again, both of them only having to use a single grass energy. So it's pretty simple to pair the two together. They also run a one of Bedingus, right? And then they have a Meowth for consistency in case they need to grab their Lilies, they need to grab their Dawns, and so they can grab their line of Beedrill if they need to set up another one on the bench to increase Beedrill's attack. They have Alana's Aid in case a Beedrill gets knocked out. They could just pull up the Weedle and the Kakuna, and then possibly Night Stretcher, the third option for the EX to come back up and then evolve into that. They run one Boss's Orders 4 Poffins just for consistency to set up the Weedle, because the Weedle is also a 50 HP mon. You can also grab the regular Dunsparce, and you can grab your Smolives as well with Poffin. So Poffin at 4 is a pretty simple here. 4 bug catching set in any grass deck grabs you all of your options, grabs you all of your energies, just sifts through the deck very fast. Thinning is winning, so bug catching set is obviously automatic 4 of in this deck. It does run 3 Poffin to grab your Dunsparce, to grab your stage 2s that you may be missing, or maybe even grab Budew if you are starting going first, going second. And then also 3 Ultra Balls for consistency, just to grab any of your EXs plus Meowth. The 2 Night Stretchers to pull back up your Beedrills or anything that you may have lost in the game. The fairest of stamps, obviously. I think it is interesting that they opt to not run special red card, but I think maybe if they run Secret Box, then they run 1 special red card. But I think that they are playing more proactive, and if they do come behind, like start to fall behind, and then they have to stamp after they've lost a Pokemon or 2, early stamp is pretty good. 4 Forced Vitality is pretty self-explanatory inside of a grass deck, and then 5 Grass Energy. Now this deck should be a menace. It's hitting all kinds of things for weakness. Grass is just a very strong archetype in general, and it's just getting an even bigger buff from Beedrill, considering that this is probably the best EX coming out of Chaos Rising. The next card we are reviewing from the set is none other than the featured card itself, Mega Greninja EX. It is a Stage 2 Water Mega with 350 HP, so 30 more HP than Dragapult, which is a pretty high HP stat. Also has the ability Mortal Shuriken. It says once during your turn, if this Pokemon is in the active spot, you may discard a basic water energy card from your hand in order to use this ability. Place 6 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon. Now, the difference between Mortal Shuriken and Phantom Dive is able to spread out its damage counters. Mortal Shuriken just places 6 damage counters onto one Pokemon. So that is the very big difference between the two. And Mortal Shuriken is also an ability, not an attack. So with Mega Greninja, you could essentially Surfing Beach and then push up a second Mega Greninja and then use Mortal Shuriken a second time, because it does not say that you can only do it once per turn. You can only do it once per turn on this Pokemon. If you have a second one, then and you push it up into the active spot, you could do it a second time and put 120 damage on board for discarding 2 water energy. And then it has a 2 energy attack Ninja Spinner for 2 water. It's 120 plus. You may put a water energy attached to this Pokemon into your hand and have this attack do 80 more damage. Now, with Ninja Spinner doing 200 if you returned a water energy, and then using 2 Mortal Shurikens, you are now in that beautiful 320 range for a Oko on a Dragapult. Now, Mega Greninja has a few issues with, I would say, resources and getting back the energy outside of just regular energy retrieval. We do not have superior energy retrieval anymore, so it does get a little difficult, but there is an ace spec that we have in mind that you can just continue to reuse and abuse and use it with a not so surprising partner that you would run this card next to. And let's get into the deck that we are going to review for Mega Greninja. So here we are with the deck list for Mega Greninja EX, and it runs next to Dragapult and also runs the Terra Greninja. So the reason why we run it with Dragapult is because with Neo Upper Energy, you can actually return Neo Upper Energy with Ninja after using Greninja's attack by returning a water energy to your hand. You could actually use Neo Upper and return Neo Upper to your hand and then deal the extra 200. And then if you really need to swing in with the Dragapult, you can throw the Neo Upper onto the Dragapult and then put that extra 60 damage on the board. Along with Mega Greninja comes a new line for Froakie and Frogadier. Froakie is just a 70 HP draw card, and then it has a water gun for 10. And then Frogadier, if you can get away with it, it's a 100 HP stage 1, but it has summoning jutsu for 1 energy. It says search your deck for up to 3 Pokemon, reveal them, and put them into your hand, then shuffle your deck. Now, this is very, very strong if you can get away with it. Now, if you do use summoning jutsu, you are probably going to get knocked out on the following turn by your opponent. But you do get the guaranteed addition of any 3 Pokemon inside of your deck added to your hand. So that this is just a really huge step up from the Frogadier from the last set that has paralysis on a coin flip. This is just infinitely better and makes the deck a lot more consistent, gives you a secondary option. And then we run 2 Mega Greninja, so you can sift in between the two. With what this deck wants to do is use Surfer to swap the Mega Greninjas, or swap into Terra Greninja as well, because Mirage Barrage is still a very, very strong attack, and Shinobi Blade for 170, grabbing any card from your deck that you really need, is still a very, very strong attack. Not only does it give you a fighting option as well to hit into some matchups with a fighting weakness, but just Terra Greninja overall is just a really great card in general. It also runs the 3/3 Dreepy and Dracloak lines for recon directive, so you can just plus off sifting through your deck and drawing into more options. And then it runs a 1 of Dragapult in case you do need to go into Dragapult and then swing in for a secondary attacker. It does run a 1 of Badingus, and then it runs a Shaman to protect your bench in case you have your Froakies, your Frogadiers, and your Dracloaks on board, and they are threatening like something like Kyurem or Enstar Manitan or anything else that does damage to the bench. And then you also have a Fez for more draw, and then a Meowth for consistency. Now it runs 4 Lilies for consistency, 3 Hildas to search out your Neo Upper and grab any evolutions that you need, or it can also grab Ignition Energy for your Mirage Barrage as well. Some decks actually in Chaos Rising are opting to run multiple Surfers now. This is mainly just to swap the 2 Greninjas or swap in a different attacker, so you can get that Mortal Shuriken down, and then probably swap into a Terra Greninja, or even a secondary Mortal Shuriken from another Mega Greninja, or even swap into a Dragapult, right? And then draw up to 5 cards until you have 5 cards in your hand. It runs 2 bosses, a Dawn to make your stage 2 lines a little bit more consistent, grabs you any of the pieces that you're missing. 4 Poffins to grab your Froakies and your Dreepies and maybe your Badoos. 4 Pokepads, again, to grab any of your options just for consistency. Same thing with Ultra Ball, consistency, grabbing your EXs that you may be missing, or maybe a hand reset with Meowth or even Fez for draw. It runs 2 Rare Candy to go into your stage 2 lines if you really need to very early. If you could just tempo off of this and then take the game with that, Rare Candy is definitely a consistent add for 2 stage 2 lines. It runs a special red card for Disruption. This card is just insane. We haven't reviewed it, but we will review it probably at the end of the video on the reason why we're going to take a little bit longer on speaking about this card, but I'll just mention it for now. It says you may use this card if your opponent has 3 or fewer prize cards remaining. Your opponent shuffles their hand and puts it on the bottom of their deck, and then they draw 3 cards. So you can just essentially on an item reset and disrupt your opponent. And then we run 2 air balloons just for pivoting, 7 water energy, 2 ignition energies, and then of course our Neo Upper energy. Now this deck it's been seeing it has some top placements, but it has been going slightly on a downtrend, mainly because Greninja has a hard time getting the water energy back into its hand in order to constantly use Mortal Shuriken. But for now, I mean, it does have some top placements, but I don't see it being the top deck of the meta, seeing how as Dragapult essentially does the same thing, only for 2 energy and is a little bit more consistent. So we'll see. You will also see some Mega Greninja lists that are running about, maybe trying some different things. But this is probably one of the more concrete lists that you'll probably see. You'll probably see it right next to Dragapult, and definitely look out for this deck if you are playing at NAIC. On to the next card in Chaos Rising. It's going to be our first EX and non-mega card of the set. Will be Metagross. So this is a very, very strong card. And the reason why we have to talk about it is because of the ruling on Metallic Hammer regarding Slowking. Now, Metagross is a stage 2 card with 180 HP. It has a 1 energy bounce back for 60. Your opponent switches their active Pokemon with one of their bench Pokemon, but the biggest one is Metallic Hammer for 150 plus, 4 energy attack, 3 steel, 1 colorless. It says you may discard. Now, keep in mind, you may discard 3 steel energy from this Pokemon and have this attack do 150 more damage. Now, the ruling with Slowking is that you do not have to discard the steel energy in order for you to get the extra 150 damage, which means that if Slowking uses Seek Inspiration, it is swinging in for a whopping 300 damage on a single attack. Now, for 2 energy. Now, that is huge. It takes out a Mega Kang, but if you buff it in any way, shape, or form and just push it into that, get that extra 20 damage, you're taking a knockout on a Dragapult, right? And Metagross 300 still hits a lot of the meta for a very, very good number. And you will see the deck list and why we want to talk about this card releasing very soon. Now, on to the Slowking deck. Now, this is one of my favorite cards to play in the current standard metagame. Slowking is just an insanely fun deck in general. But with Seek Inspiration, if you guys didn't know, Seek Inspiration for 2 energy, discard the top card of your deck, and if that card is a Pokemon that doesn't have a rule box, choose one of its attacks and use it as this attack. Now, the biggest thing is, again, the new Metagross, and with this ruling you can swing in for 300 damage with Seek Inspiration, which is amazing. Now another option that Slowking also gets is Mega Slowbro EX. Now we don't know if this card is going to release in Chaos Rising, at least to my knowledge right now. I could be wrong. Comment down in the comments if you do know that it's releasing in Chaos Rising. But if it is, then Mega Slowbro is insane, because it has 330 HP, evolves from Slowpoke. It is a stage 1 Mega, and it has for 3 energy, Shell Tornado Spin for 180, and it says during your opponent's next turn, if this Pokemon is damaged by an attack, even if it is knocked out, put 12 damage counters on the attacking Pokemon. So essentially, you are swinging in with a Mega Slowbro. You put 180 damage down on the board, and then if they retaliate and hit you back, they get hit for another 120. So that means for a single attack, you are hitting for 300 if they hit you, which is amazing, right? And it's just a one-up mega tech option for Slowking, but it is something nice that Slowking does get, another tool option that it has. It runs 2 Smoochum to accelerate all of the psychic energy using telepathic psychic energy as well, to grab your Smoochum, grab your Latias, set up some Slowpokes, Delightful Kiss onto some Slowpokes, and then put 2 energy on them, evolve into Slowking, and then set up your Academy at night, and then set up for something something like a Kyurem, right? So Kyurem has Trifrost, discard all energy from this Pokemon. The attack does 110 to 3 of your opponent's Pokemon. So early bench sniping with Kyurem is just insanely strong. It's still a 2-of inside of a Slowking deck, but they also get 2 of the new Metagross as well. And then it runs a 1-of Pheasantipede, a Lily's Clefairy to hit Dragapult for weakness. So not only if you have Lily's Clefairy and then you swing in with Slowking and you discard a Metagross, you are hitting a Dragapult for 600 damage, which is insane, right? And then on a basic Pokemon, and then also you get a Meowth for consistency, and then Annihilate to take out any other options that you may not have the damage to deal with. It does have Destined Fight. Both active Pokemon are now knocked out. You give them 1 prize, and usually you are taking 3 if you are using Annihilate, right? Most likely you're using it on a Mega or an EX that you just need to take out. You have 4 Lilies for consistency, 3 Hildas to grab your Telepathic Psychic energy, or your 1-up Boomerang energy, which can be reused on Seek Inspiration all the time. So anytime you have an attack that causes you to discard the energy, that Boomerang energy is going to come right back onto your Slowking, and then you just have to set up a single Psychic energy to use its attack again. You have Colress to grab those same energies, as well as your Stadium, Academy at Night to fix the cards on top of your deck for Seek Inspiration. You also have a Boss's Orders, just a 1-of, and then 4 Pokepads for consistency, or to grab any of your options like Kyurem and Metagross or Annihilate, and then maybe a Slowking. You also have 4 Ultra Balls to grab any of your EXs that you may be missing. For example, like if you need to grab a Meowth or a Pheasantipede, or you just didn't have the Telepathic Psychic energy to grab the Latios or your Lily's Clefairy, you could do that as well. You have 3 Night Stretchers to pull back up any options that you may need. 3 Wondrous Patches to set up Psychic energy from your discard onto your bench. You have a single switch, just swap out Slowking from the active to a different attacker in case you did have to use Kyurem and suddenly you have a stage 1 with 3 retreat cost and you want to swing in again. And then you run a 1-of Enriching Energy to just draw extra cards as well. So Slowking does get a little bit and almost a lot more fun with this Metagross with Chaos Rising, and also Mega Slowbro if it does release. And I'm super excited to play this variant of the deck and maybe do a little bit of tweaking here and there. I would rather run like 4 Stretcher. I just think 4 Stretcher is very good in this deck. And yeah. Hope you guys enjoy that, and let's move on to the next card that we are going to review. So Patrat. This is the new card that's coming in Chaos Rising, and the reason why it's very important is because of its ability, Watchful Eye. Watchful Eye says if this Pokemon is in play, you and your opponent can't move damage counters to another Pokemon. So that means Munkidori gets turned off immediately. Now, one of the things that you should keep in mind using Patrat, like if you do tech it in your deck and you just don't want to deal with the Munkidori matchup, you could definitely bench a Patrat and turn all of that off, turn all that monkey nonsense off. But the thing is Patrat is also a colorless Pokemon. So if your opponent is playing a Team Rocket's Watchtower, keep in mind that Patrat's ability will be turned off until you bump that stadium, and their Munkidoris will immediately come back online. So Patrat is definitely a good card. Definitely just cripples like Starmie Frostlass that play Munkidori, as well as Marnie's Grimmsnarl that plays Frostlass Munkidori, or even in the Dragapult matchup, if they run the Risky Ruins plus the Munkidoris, Patrat definitely deals with that. But you also have to keep in mind Team Rocket's Watchtower. And now here we present probably the best card in the entire set, Special Red Card. Now, this is our first item, and we did mention it earlier in the video when we were talking about the Mega Greninja list. Special red card is probably going to be a one of, if not a two of, depending on whether you are running megas or you are running EXs. But the biggest offender of this card is probably going to be Dragapult Dusknoir, of course. And the only reason why is because Special Red Card says you can only play this card if your opponent has 3 or less prize cards remaining. Your opponent shuffles their hand and puts it on the bottom of their deck, and then your opponent draws 3 cards. Now, the reason why I bring up Dragapult Dusknoir is because Dusknoir, you can essentially, what Dragapult will want to do is probably push up their 2 little Badoos and item lock you, and then you take the knockouts on those, you take 2 prizes, they sack a Dusknoir, and all of a sudden their special red card is activated and they're putting you at 3. That is the reason why it's probably one of the most degenerate cards, but also one of the life-saving cards of the format. And the reason why I say that is because so much of just perfect order in general is after the rotation of G-Block, we lost a lot of disruption from Iono, right? Iono was a late game disruption card supporter that allowed you to have essentially a comeback mechanic for some of the decks that really needed it. But now every deck is almost forced to run Unfair Stamp. But because of Special Red Card, now they can run a disruption card on top of Judge as a secondary option, and then not have to run an Unfair Stamp, and then you will see a little bit more play with some of the other A-specs. Now, does it necessarily make Unfair Stamp worse? I don't think so. I think Unfair Stamp will still stay one of the best A-specs, if not the best A-spec in the current format. But because of this card, because of Special Red Card, you will see play in some other A-specs like Hero's Cape. You'll see some Secret Box. You'll see some Trolley. You'll see Neo Upper. It's just a nice, healthy card for the format to have. But it's also sucks that the deck that takes advantage of it the most is probably the top deck, and was already the top deck in the format, right? So, you will see a lot of Special Red Card if you are playing in the top of the ladder. Especially at NAIC, this card is going to be flying everywhere. You're going to see red cards everywhere. And if you're not playing around this card, then you're probably losing. If you made it this far into the video, I appreciate you watching the video all the way through. We are definitely going to be doing more videos like this in the future. This set just looks like a lot of fun. I'm glad that it's going to shake up the format a little bit. Especially with Special Red Card coming around. This definitely, like, our video definitely didn't cover all of the cards that are going to be in Chaos Rising, obviously, just some of the more notable cards and probably some of the decks that you guys will probably see at NAIC. Any players that are currently proxying and playtesting for Chaos Rising and prepping themselves for NAIC, good luck. I hope you guys find the options and the tech options that you guys are looking for, and doing your math properly as well. And I will be hopefully competing at NAIC as well. So if you guys are heading over there, hopefully I see you guys over there. And I hope, again, if you guys haven't subscribed to the channel yet, then please hit that sub button, as we are going to be making videos like this all the time, and we've just been having a blast on our channel, especially on Twitch. If you want to see us talk about these cards live on Twitch, you can follow us at twitch.tv/JTR_TCG, and I hope everybody has a blessed one and stays healthy, and hopefully we'll see you on the next one.